Is listening to Michael and Brittany have mini spirals all day long causing you grief? Does Brittany and Michael having the same talks for days on ends, talking in circles, get you down, depressed? Does Michael and Brittany only sitting up in the HOH room talking to each other while complaining about the other members of their alliance having other alliances piss you off? If any of you have emotional distress from the repetitive conversations Brittany and Michael have, you might be eligible for monetary damages. Call the law offices of Joseph the Great. Joseph the Great, attorney at law. Well, I'm coming to you from a hotel tonight with some great lighting. I'm looking whiter than ever. Got this ugly painting in the background, but we're gonna do what we gotta do. I was at the airport a long time today, and I watched a lot of live feeds at the airport, and I have some gripes to go over. And we're going to start with Michael and Brittany because it's about time that we talk about how bad their social games really are. We're going to start with Brittany because she does a lot of complaining still about how the girls never accepted her. But if we really go back, the fact of the matter is the girls caught her slipping up many times at the beginning of the game. She slipped up and gave pooch information, and she was consistently caught in a couple of lies. So Brittany's social game, she did it to herself. And Michael's kind of doing it to himself as well. He won all of these competitions and just cannot be so surprised that he is a big target because of it. And these two like to spend a lot of time up in the HOH room together this past week, and they spend a lot of time together in general. They go over scenarios with each other at least twice a day, if not multiple times a day since Michael has been HOH. And then they wonder how they don't have a lot of connections outside of each other. They can't complain about their position socially if all they do is have a good social game with each other. They're kind of becoming, like I mentioned in the last video, very much like Daniel and Nicole. That first week of Daniel's HOH, they would just be together at all times, consistently going things that they thought they needed to do. Daniel never pulled the trigger on any of that because he didn't have any backbone. But Michael and Brittany are becoming very similar, and it's not a good thing. You can't complain about other members of your alliance having social connections on the other side when you've kind of put your own selves in this position. And all you do is spend time together going over the same scenarios over and over. And then they pissed off social media yesterday because they were talking about how Monty says a joke about women and how they felt it was misogynist. And the outrage was that they were going to ask other girls in the house if Monty makes them uncomfortable. Now, obviously trying to use that as a game to make Monty's target still big. People upset because they didn't actually ever call out Daniel for being abusive to Taylor. Also piss off the fans because they never called out Kyle for trying to start an entire race war and making a whiteout alliance. So I understand why fans are upset with Michael and Brittany. And even on a game level, their original conversation, and these two talk in circles, they talked over so many friggin' scenarios, half of which are illogical. It's good to go over scenarios, but these two are becoming a problem for each other, I think. Because they spend so much time talking to each other about illogical scenarios, then they wonder why their social game is basically dead in the water at this point. But Michael's plan to try and keep the target on Monty so he can have a bigger target on Michael didn't make any lick of sense. Because I said in the comments yesterday, Michael needs as many targets in front of him that he can have. He needs shills because he put this giant target on his back by winning so many competitions. So if anything, Michael should actually be trying to mend his relationship with Monty instead of actually trying to put a bigger target on Monty's back so he goes and then Michael's just the next big target in line. I think Michael's already one of the big targets neck and neck with Monty. Michael should be the main target. But after talking in circles with each other over and over the past 2 days, they finally came to the conclusion last night, or at least Michael did, in one of his rants to the camera, upset about Joseph and Kyle, worried about jury votes because they're playing both sides right now for the betterment of the alliance, kind of. Michael's upset that they're doing that while Michael and Monty have this growing targets on their back. And Michael finally came to the conclusion that maybe Monty needs to go later rather than sooner. Michael, finally seeing Joseph as the big social threat that he is the smart thing. I love Joseph's gameplay. But Michael finally realizing that Joseph is the bigger threat than Monty means Michael finally woke up. If only it didn't take 5 days straight of him and Brittany talking in circles. But another thing that irked a lot of people, including myself, is when last night when Kyle, Brittany, and Michael had a conversation regarding Taylor and Turner's relationship. Once again, Kyle acting like they lost Turner to the non-whites. That's exactly what Kyle was acting like, saying that they need to strengthen their relationship with Turner because Turner's close to Taylor and Joseph. But Kyle never seems to think he needs to strengthen his relationship with Taylor and Joseph or Monty. No, he only wants to strengthen his relationships with the white folks. He just never knows how to give it a rest. Alyssa had a conversation with Brittany at one point and also kind of gave it away to her, although she already had suspicions, I would think, because Kyle slipped up a bunch this week. Alyssa basically admitted to Brittany that Alyssa and Kyle talk a lot of game. I don't know, I haven't really seen Brittany do a whole lot with that information. I don't really know where Brittany stands with Kyle. I get this feeling she doesn't like him, but because he's close with Michael, she still works that relationship. It's also that she doesn't have a lot of other relationships in the house that she's close to. I can see why she kind of hangs on to Kyle in that way. But yes, last night, Kyle, Brittany, and Michael sulking about their social games and how other members of the Alliance have all these connections on the outside. I mean, it's no wonder this has happened because Brittany and Michael don't have good social games whatsoever, and Kyle had a great social game, one of the best, and once he's gotten involved with Alyssa, he's lost confidence, he's starting race wars, he's just a miserable person to watch on the feeds. He has nobody to blame but himself either. One of the other weird things that happened last night was Jasmine pulling off her microphone to go under the covers with Indy to tell her she has a crush on Joseph. Jasmine, who was married in real life. Of course, Alyssa later said this on feeds to Kyle, so if Jasmine wanted to go under the covers to keep this a secret from America, well, Alyssa put it out there to America on the live feeds, confirming it. So not only has Alyssa sank a lot of her early Alliance members' games by saying too much, she sank Amira's game saying too much, she sank Nicole's game saying so much, and now she might be sinking Jasmine's marriage in real life. Today, watching a lot of the feeds, there was a lot of repetitive shit. Daniel told Alyssa that Kyle was considering not using the veto last week, keeping her on the block, and her going home. Alyssa had a conversation with Kyle, and of course probably believes Kyle more than Daniel, because Alyssa, much like most people, suck at this game. Shocking nobody in tonight's episode, Joseph did not get any credit again, because he's not white. And they hid the race war, because Kyle's white. And Terrence is a terrible player, because he was willing to sit on the block, stay on the block to protect Daniel, the person who put him up in week 1. This cast is irredeemable. This season almost found redemption, but I don't think it ever got there. It got exciting for about a week, but most of this cast still sucks. We see Taylor talking to the cams tonight about how she's still going through it. She feels like she can't even spend time with Joseph because the girls want to literally pull her away. Well, literally pull Joseph away from her, Indy, and Jasmine, both of whom have significant others on the outside. Jasmine's married, Indy has a boyfriend, Taylor's single, but we still have to go with this same old social bullshit that Taylor's gone through the entire game so far. So I still think the season's irredeemable. I try to get on here and talk about the strategies going on and the game itself, but it gets really hard because this cast is insufferable and they're not even fun to watch because they're not fun on the feeds. Most of them are pretty boring and the gameplay is awful. So just not a whole lot redeemable qualities from this cast, but I still from a hotel room because I watched feeds for a good chunk of the day at the airport, that I figured I would still bring what I could bring to give an update, but the feeds are pretty dire, I feel. The rumor is that the twist is ending, so that's good. Maybe that will open shit up. We'll see who wins HOH. I feel like the favorites are probably Alyssa, Kyle, Taylor. It's the wall comp, and it's usually someone smaller, but a bigger guy has won before. I could see Monty or Joseph winning, but I would not be surprised if Alyssa or Kyle win, and then they have the HOH room to do God knows what. But hopefully if it's Kyle, he doesn't get to start his race war. I don't think production wants that. I think CBS would be on their neck. I think CBS has been on their neck this entire season. So I don't think production would want that because they just have to keep hiding it from the edit, and it could just blow up like the first week blew up on social media. Taylor seems to want it pretty badly. Hopefully she could win it. That would be best case scenario because it's still hard to watch how most of the house treats her for literally no reason. Every cast member that leaves deserves everything that they're going to get. Daniel deserves all of the harsh shit that he's going to get tomorrow and Friday, and hopefully for the rest of his fucking life. I feel sorry for Daniel 0%. And a lot of these other people deserve a lot of bullshit too that they're going to get. I made a joke on Twitter yesterday. It's not a new joke. People have been saying it all season, that these people need therapy. They need to call BetterHelp and just end the season because they really do. Brittany is a weirdo, I feel like. She only likes Taylor when Taylor has nobody. She's always wanting Alyssa's acceptance, and she's in her fucking 30s. All of the old people in this house suck too. There's no maturity. Like, I can understand insecurities in your 20s, but once you get in your 30s and you still have that bad insecurities, you fucked up in your 20s and you didn't live them right, in my opinion. So it's just hard for me to feel sorry for any of these people over 30 especially, because they're around my age or older, and it's like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Get your shit together. You're all pathetic.